guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an email that was sent from a subscriber. That's from a guy. He is 28 years old, and he shares his story, how he, many months ago, got into a relationship with a gal who he thought was a really good girl, a good Christian girl next door type. But after a few months, her mask came off, and turns out that she is the devil. And on multiple fronts was just awful to him. And this guy, unfortunately, put up with it. As you're going to see, he had some childhood issues that made him have a low self-esteem, even though this guy was a cop for a while before he had an injury. Big, strong, physical guy. But on the inside, he was soft. And this little gal pushed him around. And you're going to see, ultimately, when enough is enough, he gets his man card back and handles it accordingly. And I'm going to go over here, guys, on multiple fronts to show you that when a girl treats you like crap, you need to check her and stand up for yourself. Otherwise, it will get worse. And don't respect weakness. And how important it is, guys, to have a good male role model growing up, to build your self-esteem so you don't allow people like this into your life. Because if you do, if you have a low self-esteem, you're not working to better yourself, people will come into your life and take full advantage of you, and it's just one bad thing after another, which is why I work so hard to help guys on multiple fronts in their lives get their lives together. So you'll see in this story, guys, although he makes his mistakes, in the end, he handles it right. He's on the right path. And given that he's only 28 years old, he's got his whole life ahead of him to really continue on the right path here. So that'll be a good one to cover today. He says, "Hi SSM. I'm a pretty big fan of the channel. I share it with a friend of mine who went through a pretty nasty divorce. I know a lot of your content is for relationship guys that aren't particularly religious, which is fine. I thought I'd run into you because I'm a Christian and wanted to share my experience with others that might be able to help other guys who are in a situation that I was in." Well, you know what? It seems to me, based on a lot of comments, we've got a lot of religious folks that watch the channel, a lot of Christians, so there are a lot of you out there. For some background here, I'm 28 years old and live in rural Pennsylvania. I used to be in law enforcement before I got injured. I made a career change back around COVID time because things were just getting too crazy. I now make more money than I did when I was in law enforcement, but anyways, growing up, my parents never divorced, but my dad was absent in my life. And that can have a negative impact on a young guy. A young boy, even a teenage boy especially, actually, needs male guidance. And if it's not from your dad, it's from a godfather or a grandpa or something like that. And when a young guy doesn't have that, oftentimes he has low self-esteem, doesn't know how to act like a guy should in situations, and you're going to see in this story that definitely is true. Basically, he lived with my mom, but I never wanted anything to do with me. This caused some issues with me growing up. I was quite the tall, skinny kid, which people picked on. They picked on me relentlessly when I was in high school. I don't really remember why it started, but I started lifting weights and exercising a lot when I was about 15 years old. Yeah, because you obviously wanted people to stop picking on you. You hit the weights, and I'm sure you probably went into a lot of those workouts imagining the bullies and the dudes that were fucking with you, and that motivated you to work hard and lift hard and push yourself and all that, And good for you. A lot of guys would just cower and just not take it, but good for you. And you went into law enforcement for a while before you were injured, so that's awesome. And you did this without your dad being there to do his job to help you out. So I fell in love with the gym and have been an addict ever since. And I've always kept myself in decent shape. By the time I graduated high school, I sat around 185 at 6 feet tall, mostly muscle. And yes, most of the bullying stopped when I started exercising and improving myself. That's awesome, man. 6 feet tall, 185 at 18 years old, graduating high school. And you said you were pretty much solid. That's really good, man. Really freaking good. I mean, I graduated high school. I was 5'10", 175. So I guess if you compare it, 6 foot, 185, 5'10", 175, we were pretty close. I wasn't huge, but I was definitely in good shape. And yes, of course, the bullying stopped once you start putting on size. Now that the background about me is over, I can get into the situation because I'll explain it. It'll explain kind of the way I acted in some of the situations. I never done terrible at online dating like a lot of people talk about. But I took a break from it when I was around 25 to focus on myself and my career. Good, because yourself and career come first. You only have so much time during the prime years in your youth, guys, to establish yourself for this world. But you got your whole lifetime to date and relationships and hook up. What you do between 15 and 25 really will set the course of your life. I can't stress that enough. Fast forward 3 years down the road, I'm doing pretty well for myself and have good paying job and side business. I met Jessica, not her real name, on Hinge, and we hit it off. You mean unhinged? She checked most of my boxes. She was a believer and family oriented. She wasn't the best looking girl, but more like the girl next door type. I don't really go for 10s or girls who think they are 10s. They are more trouble than they are worth. Hey, freaking men to that. 9s and 10s, don't even waste your time having them as girlfriends, guys. They are for hookups or friends with benefits, nothing more. Okay, it's just your turn with them. Don't waste your time, especially nowadays when, a gal can get attention 24/7, 365 from dudes all around the world that post themselves on social media. And remember, by and large, the better looking the girl, the more insecure she is. Therefore, needs constant validation. And if you don't believe me, go out and date one of them. Go and be in a relationship with them. If you can pull a 9 or a 10, and you're going to be going crazy. So we went on a few dates, and everything seemed pretty normal. She wanted me to be her parents, and I agreed. This was after the third date. The third date? You don't go meeting parents and friends and shit, especially parents, until she's officially your girlfriend. And that shouldn't be done in 3 dates. This should be several months. Letting her work to get you. Because rushing into things make a girl think, oh, I got this guy, I can do whatever I want. He always doesn't have a whole lot of options. And she'll treat you accordingly. So, let's see here. Her parents really liked me and would always invite me over to dinner and even invited me on their family beach trip. I accepted and everything was going extremely well for the first 3 months. Well, things generally always go well for the first 3 months, guys. And then, the mask comes off. We got back from the trip, and that's when things started to change. I'll try to break everything down for the timeline here and about what exactly happened. It was the beginning of August. We had been dating for about 5 months. But after the beach trip, her personality started changing. Jessica started becoming more irritable because her job as a social worker had been stressing her out. Okay, everybody's allowed to be stressed out from their jobs and have bad days. It doesn't mean that you take out your bad days and crap on people that supposedly you say you care about. And it also means, guys, you don't let somebody take it out on you. So I just brushed it off as that. She'd been treating me pretty poorly and putting me down, saying things like, you don't like to have fun, or you don't like to do things. These are really vague and confusing to me because I've been doing things with her, taking her out, and spending time with her. And no, she wasn't talking about sex. She freaked out on me when she thought I was trying to pressure her into having SCX before marriage. So, you said there she was treating you pretty poorly and putting you down, saying all this bullshit and starting a bunch of fucking drama and you didn't do anything? Why weren't you breaking up with her then? Why weren't you putting her in her place? Why were you standing up for yourself? These are rhetorical questions because I know the answer why. And I'm sure you all know why. Why? Because he doesn't think too highly of himself. Yeah, he's 6 feet tall. Well, okay, when he graduated high school, he's 6 feet tall, 185, but I would assume he's in good shape and probably can get girls. And he was in law enforcement for a while, doing well for himself. But deep down, he still isn't rock solid because of the childhood shit and the thing with the dad, and doesn't think too highly of himself. Because no guy who thinks truly highly of himself, respects himself, and I don't mean in an arrogant way, is going to put up with his shit. If you don't check your girl and she's talking down, you treat you like crap, that's going to make her lose more respect for you and treat you worse. I say it all the time. I'm saying it now because remember, we're here to learn shit, guys, and I got to be repetitive because I get new people all the time. Right here. And watch what happens when he doesn't stand up for himself. Jessica really wanted me to meet her cousin. He was coming in from out of town. Oh, by the way, I got to jump back. He mentioned about the pressuring her into having sex before marriage. Obviously, the Christians here, and they want to wait before they get married. Okay, that's fine. If you're cool with that, then fine. But if you want to have SCX before marriage and she's making you wait for her, no, not a good idea. Jessica wanted me to meet her cousin who was coming in from out of town. This is a guy I would describe as a bum. He lives rent-free in someone else's home and doesn't have a real job. Why would you want to hang out with that loser? Unless he's trying to hope that you'll rub off on him or something. But he was going to school to become a therapist. This loser was going to school to help people, to be a therapist. I guess what's the saying? Those that can't do, teach. So he's going to become a therapist and help people because you know. And he had to drop out due to his own mental health. Oh, mental health, really? He's also the type of guy that because he was going into this field, he acts like he knows everything. One of those type know-it-all personalities. The biggest douchebags that are out there. I'm acquainted with a know-it-all personality who, guess what, is going to be a therapist. Yeah, people are going to pay this jerk off to give him advice. This dude I'm talking about is like a boyfriend of a friend of a friend of a friend, that type of thing. So the day came when I went to go meet him. We were all sitting around the dinner table when he started asking me about myself, so I started telling him I was in law enforcement, but made a career change after I got injured. He asked me how I got injured. I told him I got injured getting stabbed 3 times. Holy shit, dude. I'm glad it didn't get worse than that in terms of, something permanent. That's when the talk of counseling came up. He asked if I had been to counseling, and I said yes. They cleared me after a couple months of counseling. That's when he looked at me and told me that that's abnormal and you probably aren't healed. In my head, I thought, what does this guy know? I just shrugged and said, I don't know, man. That's just what happened. I was getting ready to leave, and Jessica was seeing me off. She went in for a kiss, and that's when she said there was something wrong with me. Oh, thanks, sweetheart. I looked at her confused and said, what do you mean? She said, you heard my cousin in there. There's something wrong with you, and you need to go back to counseling. Is your cousin a licensed therapist? No, he's a fucking college dropout, living at home, not doing anything with his life, but he still thinks he's fucking Sigmund Freud. I said, I don't feel like I need to go back to counseling. She then said, I don't know if I can be with someone who doesn't go to counseling. I relented and said, I will make some calls tomorrow. Smack! For God's sakes, dude. So she's talking down to you and all that and belittling you, and you're putting up with it. You meet her jerk-off cousin who's trying to tell you how to live your life, that he's some kind of licensed therapist, and he's not. And now she's getting mad at you, so you're going to go do what you don't want to do. Remember, guys, when guys go against what they want to do and would do it for the woman, that makes them lose more respect for them. So I called a friend who's an older gentleman in his 70s who does counseling now. He agreed to meet with me. I'll get into the second incident before I explain what happened in counseling. The second incident came at the end of August. We were at the movies with friends having a good time. We had to stop at the store on the way back to her place, and we were having some small talk. I said about taking a personal day tomorrow and doing some things that I needed to get done around the house. She then flips out at me and calls me a fucking asshole and a lazy piece of shit. You're taking a day off, a personal day, a me day, do some chores, and she's calling you a lazy piece of shit? Why are you still with her? I know why. Because you don't think highly of yourself. And this is the good Christian Jessica here. She did this in front of the store. People were staring at us. Why didn't you walk away? She did this to humiliate you in public. What I tell you about things getting worse, guys, when you don't check a girl. Right? I kept quiet because I wasn't sure what was going on. No, you kept quiet because you're a whipped puppy. That's why you kept quiet. Let's be honest here. I know you were in law enforcement and you were tough. And dude, I respect that. And you said you were stabbed 3 times. And I'm sorry that happened. And holy shit. But still, you could have been tough with scumbags and criminals. But when it came to a girl, you're weak. But I know you've learned. When we got back to the vehicle, I asked her about it. I was like, what was that about? Why did you freak out like that? She said that I need to get over it, and she was just joking. She wasn't joking. She was deliberately trying to humiliate you. She enjoys that. The third incident for me was the final straw. It's about fucking time. I just couldn't do this anymore. I got her tickets a while back for this music festival in the area. It was for her birthday. She doesn't deserve anything for her birthday, given how she's treating you, but okay. We went in, I thought we were having a good time, and she seemed happy. We stayed up until the next to the last band was playing, and she said she didn't care if we stayed for the last band. So we started packing up our stuff and left. About a week later, she called me and stated that she was mad at me. Dude, she's one of those, huh? I've known a few gals, I'm sorry to say I dated and had fun with, that would pull that crap just out of nowhere. They'd call you and say, I'm mad at you. And guys are usually dumb enough to be like, what'd I do? I eventually learned to just laugh and say, so? So what? I'm mad at you. Immediately they want to start fucking drama. Of course she does. Of course she said that. I asked her for what? See, you did. You played into her game. She said that I didn't talk to her at the music fest. Now, for anyone who's ever been to a concert or music fest knows it's kind of hard to hear anything at these places. You can't hear shit. Somebody can be screaming in your face and you can't hear a fuck. Unless you can read lips, you can't hear shit. You're not going to be able to communicate. Yes, I know. But I countered her argument and said that, well, I talked to you and you went into the concession area. It's kind of hard to hold a conversation when you're listening to live music. She realized the stupidity in this argument and changed the argument to that she wanted to stay for the final band and I didn't seem like I was having a good time and she would rather went with her other guy friend than me. So she just wanted to call you up to stir up a bunch of drama, a bunch of bullshit because she can. Because she enjoyed it. This is what happened. Again, you may be a big dude and into lifting and physically strong, but this woman can find a way that your weakness in your suit of armor, if you will, and exploit it. Doesn't matter how tough you are physically, if in the inside you're weak, they're going to exploit it. It says, SSM, it takes a lot to make me angry, but this for me was the final nail in the coffin. I didn't talk to her for a few days as I mulled over everything that had happened in the past few weeks. I was talking to one of my coworkers about my situation, and they told me flat out, run and don't look back. Amen. I wish you found me back then. I would have told you that. I called her that day on my way home from work and told her I didn't want to be in a relationship anymore. Hallelujah. Man, if they were at church, you get a full-on hallelujah. Can I get an amen, folks? I'm tired of her treating me the way she had been and always walking on eggshells around her. Smack. No guy should ever walk on eggshells around anybody, let alone their freaking girl. That's crazy. But yes, that's what you were doing. At least you can admit it. She started to cry. More manipulation. And said she knew this was all her fault. And told me how she was going to miss me. Yeah, she's going to miss treating you like shit. That's what she's going to miss. I didn't say anything because I didn't have anything left to say. Eventually, she just hung up and I kept hearing her cry. Good. Let her cry. Just like Hootie and the Blowfish said. Now, some people might be wondering what had happened to me going to counseling. I continued to go. The counselor pointed out to me that my dad being absent from my life caused me to have some insecurities in my own life. Yes, I'm not a fucking counselor. I took 2 psychology classes in college because that was a requirement, which I did enjoy, I might add. And I can tell you that from the get-go. And I don't want those insecurities to follow me into future relationships. He also pointed out to me that my ex-girlfriend was constantly gaslighting me. I literally cannot tell what was reality at some points in this relationship. Well, bro, you're not alone. This shit happens to a lot of guys. But hopefully, this will never happen again. It's been 3 months since I ended it in early September. My ex is now dating someone else. She got with him pretty quickly after I ended it. Of course, if your ex is remotely attractive and she's in her 20s like you, she's not going to have a hard time finding a dude. But it's more like she found another victim. I saw this on Facebook because her moron of a new boyfriend puts everything out there. Quickly after this, she unfriended me, so I wouldn't be able to see anything, but she still follows me on Instagram. I have a feeling she'll try to come back. She'll come back. Because remember, dude, even though you broke up with her, still the whole relationship, you were a pushover. You know? So in her mind, and also she's nuts, and she's a narcissist, in my opinion. I didn't mention that earlier, but yes, I think she is. That she'll put on enough tears, and she'll give us some time and get you back. But I'm going to assume you learned your lesson. I want to end with this, guys, listening, especially if you're religious. Guys, it doesn't matter if the girl says she's a Christian. These rules still apply. Just because a gal says she's a Christian and goes to church doesn't mean she's any different from any other girl you meet online. SSM, thank you for what you do and the wisdom you put out there. Amen. I'm glad you redeemed yourself at the end, man, because as I was reading this earlier today, I'm sitting there with my cat on my lap, Tucker the cat sitting on my lap, and I'm just, and the cat could tell I was getting pissed off reading your story here, but everything was okay. You know, Tucker was happy. I didn't freak out. But anyhow, yes, my cat's name is Tucker. Tucker and Cleo, the cats. But anyhow, good, bro. I'm glad in the end you did it right. But, you know, even though her jerk off, unemployed, no license, no license to be a therapist. Cousin recommended you go to a therapist. Actually, it's kind of good you actually went to this guy, and he obviously knows what he's talking about. And he had a very good point about your dad, you know. And it's not your fault that your dad was absent and didn't do the job a father should. Who knows why that was the case? We could all speculate on that, but that's not the purpose of this video. But the point is, it's so important. So for you guys out there that are fathers, you got to be there for your boys, for both your kids and your girls, so they don't turn out to be OnlyFan hoes. But it's so important you're there for your boys and you set a good example. But it's also important, guys, that you have to have that self-esteem and build that self-esteem and self-respect that you don't allow people like this in your life. You know, the most common theme to all these stories I've covered in this channel and the other channels about guys that are fucking up and these gals that are awful to them, the number one common denominator is these guys are doormats. They have no self-worth. They don't stand up for themselves. And that's why I try so hard to help you guys on multiple fronts build yourselves up. Build yourself up to the best you can be. And sometimes it can be a very long work in progress. And as long as you're building yourself up and moving up on multiple fronts, you're feeling good about yourself. And you're not going to allow assholes like that freaking bitch, Jessica, into your life. And if they do come into your life very quickly, you'll send them on their way the second they show their true colors. Because he did say in the beginning, first few months, everything was great. I'm sure I could have picked up real quick on some problems with her red flags, but this guy didn't. You know, but what's done is done. So, bro, good for you. Take this as a important life lesson because, shit, you could have got engaged or married her. You didn't. So learn from this mistake. Evaluate where you went wrong. If you're still meeting with this therapist and he's helpful, good. And that way then the next time you get in a relationship, stop. The second a girl starts talking down to you or belittling you, treating you like crap, you end it with her. Or at the very least, you stand up for yourself. If she's been on good behavior for a while, maybe she's having a bad day, you stand up for yourself. And, you know, it's not like you immediately start screaming at her saying, listen, you effing cunt. No, you check politely if there's minor things going on. But if she's being an asshole, then that's different. And a girl ever yells at you in public, walk. Don't fight with her. Don't give her the drama. Walk. Not make her more insane because they want the drama and fighting. But life is short, guys, and you were a cop, okay? I'm sure you were taught that if you show weakness to criminals and thugs and all that, they're going to, right? It's no different than women. So, guys, that's a lesson here in this story. I know some of you are probably like, what the fuck did I just listen to here? Well, we got to listen to all sorts of stories here to learn shit, guys. From the guys that are kicking ass through the whole story or guys that fuck up through the whole story, but in the end, learn. So that's why I did this one. So, bro, good luck to you. And let me know if she reaches out to you again, because I know she will. Guaranteed, all the guys who know that she'll reach out. But make sure you don't communicate with her. Don't engage with her at all, because I don't want you slipping up. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. I'll catch you next time.